Today, we're making the vegetarian version of a very famous Sichuan glass noodle dish, humorously called ants climbing a tree. But don't worry, there are no ants and there is no tree. The name simply came because of how, in the original version of the recipe, minced meat would cling on to the beautifully seasoned glass noodles. So, just like my vegetarian mapo tofu recipe, we're going to enlist the help of some dry mushrooms. A, to give us texture. B, and more importantly, to give us flavor by making a mushroom dashi. So, first things first, we rinse the dry mushrooms. Now, to rehydrate the mushrooms and to make our extremely umami-rich mushroom dashi, simply add them to the pot. And we cover this with the amount of water you have in mind that's required to cook the amount of glass noodles. If in doubt, be more generous. Now, if you have the luxury of time, do this the night before with room temperature water. If you want to speed things up a bit, simply bring in some heat and bring this to a bare simmer. Switch off the stove and leave it there anywhere between half an hour to an hour until whichever dry mushroom you chose to use has fully softened. So, judging from the size of these, I'll probably see you in half an hour. So, after an hour, this is what we have. To separate the ants from the dashi, we've simply squeezed the mushrooms as much as possible. Our dashi is ready, and now we make our ants. Rehydrated dry mushrooms taste nothing like fresh mushrooms. They're so much deeper, richer in flavors. This is my preferred version of the recipe. Even if I were to use pork or beef, I would still do this step, and you really want to chop them fine so they integrate properly with the glass noodles. So don't let my fast cut editing fool you. Take your time with this. Perfect. Now we can cook. So let's introduce our other major ingredients. First and foremost, the most important one, we have Sichuan chili bean paste. This is what's going to give the dish the distinct spiciness, distinct flavors, and distinct color. And to help this out a tiny bit, we also have some vegetarian chili oil, which is completely optional. But if you do have them, make sure you scoop some of the solids as well as the oil, because that's where the flavor is. The holy trinity of Chinese aromatic vegetables, ginger, scallion, garlic. You can use one, you can use all three. Because of how strong this is, I wouldn't sweat over it. And bean vermicelli. For this particular recipe, I highly recommend using only bean vermicelli. They are strong enough. If you use rice vermicelli, you'll end up having ants climbing tiny tree branches. So, first, we deal with the vermicelli by soaking it in boiling water. I like to soak it for half of the recommended duration on the packaging because I want the second half to occur in the cooking liquid, which we're about to make. So, heat up the pot. The cooking method is extremely similar to actually cooking the mince, so make sure your pot is smoking hot. Once the pot is hot, we add quite a generous amount of high smoke point oil. In this case, we're using vegetable oil. Dry mushrooms, they stick to the bottom of the pan quite easily, so be quite generous and be on the safe side. You can always skim off the oil before adding the glass noodles. So, mushrooms in. And you really want to cook them out, to brown them, to develop those deep flavors we talked about. While that's searing away, we prepare the Holy Trinity. If you're doing this for the first time, do all the prep first, then start cooking. This way, you actually get to enjoy the process and you don't have to stress yourself out. Ginger goes in, a bit of garlic. I definitely wouldn't use a garlic crusher for this, by the way, because that way you puncture the cell membrane and they'll start to burn before everything else browns. Scallion. Just the white part for this one. That's enough. Perfect. Now, once the scallion is translucent, we add the Sichuan chili bean paste. And this is really to taste, and different chili bean paste have different spice levels. So instead of following the measurements from recipes, please taste. If you're cooking it for the first time, be on the safe side. You can always add a bit more chili oil at the end if you want it spicier. And we want to cook out the chili bean paste to evaporate their water content, to remove a bit of harshness and to concentrate the wonderful umami-rich flavors. Now, Next up, the vegetarian chili oil, optional. Once there's not much evaporation going on, not much steam coming out, we're ready for the wet ingredients. First up, we have some mirin, which is a Japanese sweet wine. It would both sweeten and thicken the cooking liquid slightly. If you don't have access to mirin, just add a tiny bit of sugar. So mirin goes in. And this will also deglass the pan, mopping up whatever burn bits we've created, taking all the flavors with it. So make sure you scrape the bottom of the pot. Next up, light soy sauce. This is our main source of salinity. And soy sauce burn quite easily. So make sure you lower your heat before you add the soy sauce. We cook out the soy sauce slightly and we add some dark soy sauce. This is what's going to give us the beautiful, beautiful color. Oh my god, it smells incredible. Now, we drain our glass noodles and we run this under cold water to give us that extra bounce. Now, vermicelli in and we mix. Look at that. Look at this beautiful color. Really want to mix everything thoroughly. And we just add a tiny bit of liquid. You don't need to cover the whole thing because we're going to use the lid to give us some steam. You want to be just halfway there. Push everything down, bring this back to a boil. Lid on, medium heat, and you let the vermicelli absorb all the wonderful goodness while we prepare our garnish. So here we have some coriander. We're going to use both the stalks and the leaves. The stalks, we'll once again cut them into ant size and they will give us not just the wonderful taste of the stalks, but also some contrasting textures. And in my opinion, you can never be too generous with the stalks. Perfect. Now, after 3-4 minutes, chuck on the noodles. Oh my god, look at this. Oof, look at how beautiful that is. Mix, you taste and you adjust the seasoning, and now you reduce it down to the consistency you desire. For me personally, this is a dry dish. I want to get to a point that I don't see any liquid. The color is so beautiful, it's almost golden. It's incredible. Now we're getting there. Brilliant. Stove off, we add the stalks. Give it one final mix. Wow, look at that. And this goes straight to the middle of the dining table. No need for plating. And just look at the ants climbing on this beautiful, beautiful tree. We add the rest of the coriander for garnish. And that's it. My vegetarian version of Sichuan's famous ants climbing on a tree. I really, really hope you enjoy. Oops, say that again. Perfect.